Hello, I'm Pienaar and I would like to tell you about my Firstfruits Bible-based hobby arty venture, which is 24 years old. I will be telling you about my struggles in an attempt to encourage other Christian creatives. I have most certainly not achieved any level of financial success yet, but I've tried my best, like many other creatives, to keep going and to bring the contribution God placed in my hands to the table. May you be encouraged by my mistakes and the possibilities we have nowadays. Some of you, I'm referring to my South African friends, may have seen some of these designs somewhere. I'm talking about these here at the back. I do realize that as Christians, we all have an idea when it comes to the appearance of religious art. And that is a privilege God has given each of us. I will share my naive or ethnic looking style with you, and if you do not like it, it's fine. As we get older, we make peace with the fact that we cannot please everyone and that our personal taste is indeed peculiar. As an artist, I tried to simplify or distill the designs, especially the later ones you will see, in an attempt to convey the maximum message and emotion with the least number of shapes and design elements. I am a South African and I appreciate the work of the African crafters. I did not attempt to copy anyone. What you will see are simple, imagined designs I made without visual references. I started illustrating scripture in 1994. I will include photos over the voice tracks, and then you can see how these intricate initial designs eventually evolved into more bolder looking designs. I started to illustrate Bible verses when I enrolled for a course with a mission organization. We had an outreach planned, and each person had to think of small ways in which to ease the financial burden. I decided to illustrate some Bible verses and then copy them onto card to sell as little packs to raise some money for our trip. I ended up using the hand image to represent God in most of the illustrations because I felt that the hand would be an acceptable symbol for God. Job 12 verses 9 to 10. Which of all these do not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature and the breath of all mankind. Psalm 89 verse 13. Your arm is endowed with power. Your hand is strong. Your right hand exalted. Isaiah 41 verse 10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. I have always wanted to see my artworks on textiles, and in 1999 I reworked these fine line, naive style illustrations in an attempt to create a more surf style appearance, which was what I had in mind. I wanted to print t-shirts, but it did not prove to be a viable avenue at the time, and I did not have sufficient funds to explore it further. However, as stationery packs the naive and surf-style designs were welcomed with open arms, and I think I must have sold over 300 or more packs of these designs as greeting cards. During that time, late 1990s and early 2000s, my computer skills and technology perhaps were not that good, and I had to rely on the old-fashioned paper and glue stick photocopying and Tipex or whiteout layout techniques to create my designs and packaging material. 20 years later, in the early months of 2020, I did the final reworking of these designs for a mindfulness coloring book. I will return to the reworked designs a little later in this discussion. I started teaching in Jeddah in 2012, and the artworks I made of the old city in Jeddah were eventually printed on scarves in India. As I was attending to the Jeddah project, I remembered my biblical designs made with the fine lines, and I thought of printing them digitally on large sheets of fabric so that they could be used for bed linen or tablecloths. I printed about 20 to see how my friends would respond to it. In 2015 in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, with the help of a Syrian graphic designer friend called Iyad, I created a collage of the fine line psalm illustrations and emailed the design to Amritsar in India. I flew to India in September 2015 to visit the supplier and to pick up these large sheets of fabric. They printed the designs digitally on a lovely soft cotton that feels just right. My friends thought they were lovely and I could sell almost all 20 pieces. My suppliers in India did a beautiful job. But if I were to continue, the cost would have become a bit steep for me, and my marketing circle was rather limited. I decided to buy South African and to have this printed the old-fashioned silk screen way with immaterial textile printers in Cape Town, so that I did not have to worry about the import issue. They printed the Afrikaans and English psalm illustrations on a thicker cotton that is ideal for tablecloths, cushion covers, Bible covers, placemats, and other decorative items, as you will see. Each artist does what his or her hands find to do, and as people, we are hopeful beings. But unfortunately, we can never know the outcome in advance. Our peculiar taste may become a hindrance. The Bible warns us that we need to try a variety of ventures because we never know which one will succeed. In Ecclesiastes 11 verse 6, we read, "Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well." The reason I am including this scripture verse as a support for my little story is because the reaction from the South African church-going public was not what I had expected. The stationery packs, as I mentioned earlier, sold fairly easily, but somehow the textile version of these naive illustrations did not receive the welcome I had hoped for. But so we learn, and that is the beauty of our trials and errors. There could be a few reasons why this venture struggled. and I will try to list a few for which I could take responsibility. Number 1, I did not market it well, and I did not have a good enough online presence. Number 2, I targeted the wrong social circles in South Africa, and having scripture on textiles was perhaps too much of a spiritual statement. Number 3, the imagery and color schemes were not that which the public desired. Number 4, it did not fit the decor dreams of the season. 5, and the dispatching location for these textiles was simply too remote for buyers. Even though this project was not the success I had hoped for, I really enjoyed seeing the illustrations on textiles, and I will include a few products my mother and others made with this fabric. I even had a jacket made to see if the fabric would be suitable. It worked well for that, but it may be too much of a statement perhaps. I think it would be safer to simply print these designs digitally in the future as people order. It is a bit expensive to print rolls of fabric as a small business. Fortunately, digital printing is making it easier for the entrepreneurs. I made a video about the joys of digital printing, and I will provide the link below this video. Therefore, I will not speak more about digital printing and marketing now. In 2019, a friend of mine started to sell my digitally printed chiffon Kalahari scarves in Pretoria, and she told me she thought I should have more made. Unfortunately, the more I looked into it, trying to figure out how much I had to pay in India for those scarves, it became clear to me that the South African market would not be able to carry the cost of a digitally printed chiffon scarf. I had to make another plan. While I was negotiating with my Indian suppliers, I eventually forgot about the Kalahari scarves, and I started talking to the block printers in India, and it became clear that hand block printing may be more affordable for me, and I could sell a block printed item at a cheaper price. In the meantime, I had started to develop samples for a jewelry range based on my reworked biblical designs when I was teaching in China. And I thought that a matching scarf could be a nice item for the ladies. And I thought I could simultaneously print shirt material for men. We started this sampling process in September 2019, and unfortunately, due to the current COVID-19 pandemic, we could not explore it further. However, I have received a few photos I will share with you. With these reworked designs, I try to give my designs based on scripture a wider or universal appeal. A friend of mine who is not a Christian told me that he thought these designs could be worn by anyone. Here I am sitting dressed in bespoke fabric. This is one of my biblical designs repeated as a pattern. I had 3 meters printed on a lovely poplin in India, and then the local tailor did the rest. Once I had completed my textile patterns, I had an idea to rework these designs to create a biblical mindfulness coloring book for adults, which I mentioned earlier, and this is my latest venture using these designs. As you see, I'm trying to get mileage out of these designs. I will make a separate video for the coloring book, but I will include a few images related to it here. I trust you have enjoyed this little talk and that you will view my designs in the proper light when you come across them. Once the pandemic is over, we will all continue with our samples and our market research. May the hand of God guide and protect us all. Remember, there is art in your heart. Thank you for listening to me. Be blessed.